Imagine the scene, a quiet afternoon, steaming tea on the table, laughs and conversations that should be light. But it was at this moment of apparent harmony that a young wife unintentionally discovered the true face of those who should be her new family. Words said in a low voice, between sighs of disdain, they revealed a painful truth. To the mother-in-law, it was just a mere object of status, a financial trophy in the eyes of society. And it was at this moment that the woman that everyone thought docile and submissive proved that, when necessary, it could be as relentless as cunning. Good night, dear listeners. Here is Andre Branco, and it is with great satisfaction that I share with you another real story that will mess with your emotions and make you rethink the limits of respect and dignity. Prepared? So they settle down, because this narrative is one that Mark Zenaid Timofeeva, at 34, was the portrait of professional success, 12 years climbing positions in a construction giant, leaving a simple clerk to become a financial director, with a salary that bordered the 300,000 hryvnias per month. Money was no problem, the challenge was to find someone who saw her beyond the numbers in the bank account. Men either fled intimidated by their independence, or approached with ulterior motives, attracted to the brilliance of what it could offer. Until, in a gym, he crossed with Maximo Kutaynikov. He was 29, he was a swimming teacher, lived with his mother in a modest apartment on the outskirts and dreamed of opening his own school. Winning 40,000 a month did not prevent him from smiling sincerely or talking about his plans with a glow in the eyes that conquered Zenaid instantly. The best of all, he had no idea who she was professional or financially. For him, she was just an interesting woman who attended the same gym. This ingenuity, or perhaps this purity of intentions, that's what made her fall in love. Elmira Kutaynikova, the mother of the Maximum, was the type who was owned by the truth of others. At the age of 50, with hair dyed from an artificial redhead and the habit of putting her bedel where she was not called, she distrusted Zenaid from the first look. Designer clothes, imported car, firm posture, to Elmira, that was not elegance, it was affront. Who this girl thinks she is? He must have wondered, while envy corrodes inside. The wedding was simple, as Maximo wanted. Zenaid could have played a party of envying any celebrity, but accepted the groom's modesty without blinking. After Luna de Mel, the couple rented an apartment in the city center, but Elmira was not long to invade that space. It was soup at the door, it was laundry clothes, it was the concern of a mother who didn't let her son breathe. The first friction began when it was money. As a simple accountant, in the distorted view of the mother-in-law, could you be able to buy new furniture or travel when you well understood? Are you sure your wife earns this money honestly, son? Asked Elmira, with a tone that mixed doubt and accusation. Maximum defended Zenaid, but his words sounded weak, as if he doubted what he said. After all, how to contradict the woman who created him? The drop of water came when Elmira discovered the real position of Zenaid in the company. A cleaning lady, a building colleague, unintentionally released her daughter-in-law was not any employee, but the financial director, with a stratospheric salary. The news was like a punch in the stomach for the mother-in-law. From there, the war was declared. Zenaid was accused of belittling his son, stealing his masculinity with his success. True woman stays at home, creates children, is not competing with man. Elmira ordered, as if love could be measured in hours of housework. Bought your husband as if it were a toy, think I dinked. Ro buys everything. He spit, without caring about the presence of anyone. Zenaid tried in any way to build a bridge. He paid expensive medical treatments for his mother-in-law, presented the family with luxury items, offered financial help without asking for anything in return. But each gesture was twisted, interpreted as a demonstration of superiority. The subject children was the most painful. Zenaid wanted to wait, wanted the family to be stable before bringing a child to the world. For Elmira, that was pure selfishness. Must be sterile, or does not want to spoil the body, she whispered for friends, as if the motherhood were an obligation and not a choice. Money is more important than being a mother, that's the truth. Maximo lived in an emotional cable of war. He asked his wife to be more patient with his mother, but did not demand from Elmira the same respect for Zenaid. The result? 2 dissatisfied women and 1 exhausted man, divided between loyalty to his mother and love for his wife. The trigger came on Elmira's birthday. Zenaide has erected reserved restaurants, invitations to relatives and friends, gold earrings of 50,000 reais as a gift. The mother-in-law accepted everything with a fake smile, but as soon as the last guests came out, she released the poison. All this show for what? Want to show everyone that you have money? I don't need it. I need a daughter-in-law who knows her place, who doesn't make my idiot son, he shouted, while Maximum, paralyzed, I didn't know how to react. Zenaide took refuge in the kitchen, but the thin walls of the apartment did not drown out the words they cut like blades. My son married a leg of money with legs. He thinks that, because there is money, you can buy anyone. But true love. This she doesn't know. For her, it's just a beautiful ornament she uses while having fun and throws it out when she gets tired. It was at this moment that something inside Zenaide broke, or rather, clarified. She understood that there was no room for dialogue with someone who only saw in her a threat or a blank check. When the night fell, Zenaide acted. His knowledge in finance and his banking world connections were powerful weapons. She knew the Maximum account passwords, he had shared them with confidence. He knew his mother-in-law's data, which had often asked for help in making online payments. Until midnight, all Kutainikov family cards were blocked. An account of fraud, a security protocol, and that's it. No penny could be moved without investigation. Then he cancelled all the recurring payments that played for them: electricity, water, internet, cable TV, safe. Until the financing of the Maximum car, which she had assumed 3 months earlier, was uncovered. At 3 in the morning, a suitcase was ready. It took almost nothing, only the essentials fit there. The rest could be replaced or recovered later with lawyers. At the living room table, a short and surgical message: Maximum, your mother was right. You got married with a leg of money with legs. But wallets are not where they are not valued. The divorce papers will arrive by my lawyer. When the son was born, Maximum woke up alone. At first he thought his wife had gone out early for work. But the note on the table made him cold. Panic came only later, when he tried to pay a coffee on his way to the gym and the machine refused his card. Elmira discovered the situation while trying to buy groceries. Kaisha, with a polite smile, said the payment could not be approved. And it was then that the mother-in-law understood, too late, the cost of underestimating a woman who knew exactly how to play and win. Refused operation. The second message at the terminal stepped even deeper into Elmira's chest. The third, linked to Maxim's account, was blocked. What's going on? She repeated on the phone, her voice shaking, while her son tried in vain to understand. The situation. The bank was clear. By request from the main holder, all transactions had been suspended on suspicion of fraud. For unlocking, it would be necessary to attend Zena's personal attendance. Maxim tried to call. The number no longer existed. At work, they reported that Zenadi Grigorievna had license indefinitely. She didn't return home. He spent the whole night sitting at the door, as if the force of the weight could reverse what was already done. Elmira, in turn, moved around the house like an harmed animal. Without cards, could not buy food, pay bills, buy medicines. The 3,000 rubles in kind at home were crumbs. The illusion of plastic comfort had left them unarmed. Find her, he demanded from his mother, his fingers stuck in his son's arms. Make her come back. She has no right to abandon us like this. But Maxim knew, Zena hadn't stolen anything. It didn't cheat, it didn't lie. He had simply exercised a right that was always hers, to close the tap that had irrigated a family that treated it as an inexhaustible source. A week later, an impeccable suit lawyer appeared at the door with the divorce papers. My client is willing to divide the goods according to the law, he explained, adjusting his glasses with a calm that hurt. But it will not claim anything that has been acquired together. The house, the car, the furniture are with the Lord. However, and here the voice has earned an end, Mrs. Zenada Grigorievna encloses any financial support to her family from today. All loans in her name will be transferred to the Lord or in advance. Elmira tried to protest. She can't leave my son without a penny, this is inhuman. The lawyer only tilted his head, as if explaining something obvious to a stubborn child. Maxim Evgenievich has employment and income. No one is depriving him of subsistence means. Only a voluntary aid has ceased that until then supported a standard of living beyond what his own capacity allowed. The reality collapsed over the Kutaynikov like a flame roof. First, they cut the internet and cable TV. Then came the bills of light, water, gas, all with the name of Zina in the pear-field. They found out too late that in the last 6 months she bears everything alone. Maxim's car was towed, a month late in financing was enough. Elmira borrowed her neighbors to buy bread and pressure for pressure. His wage badly gave his own expenses. Helping the son was a luxury that could no longer play. Maxim gave private swimming lessons, but the money barely covered the rent of a tiny room and the basic bills. "This is all your fault," exploded for the first time, the hoarse voice of anger and exhaustion. The mother backed away as if she took a slap. "I just wanted your good," stammered Elmira. "I saw that she didn't really love you." "Well, now I know exactly who doesn't love me," said his son, bitter. "And the worst is that this person is right here, in front of me." The fracture between them became definitive. Maxim blamed his mother for the ruin of marriage. Elmira accused the son of ingratitude, of weakness. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. Zina did not even attend the audiences. Everything was resolved by power of attorney, with the surgical efficiency of those who had become the page long before. Maxim received a notification. The ex-wife had moved to Moscow, hired by a multinational. Elmira got sick. The body, accustomed to the comfort that Zina's money provided, rebelled against the return to mediocrity. "I could no longer buy expensive medicines, quality food, new clothes." Maxim returned to his mother's apartment. Renting something alone was impossible. He got a second job as a teacher in a day care center, but the accounts were still bleeding faster than the salary entered. In the supermarket where Elmira worked, his colleagues smiled behind the back. They remembered well how she bragged about her rich daughter-in-law, the expensive gifts, the trips. Now it was the same Elmira who asked for advance at the bottom of mutual aid. "Where's your golden daughter-in-law?" asked one with poisonous smile. "It seems that you are not helping the family at tight time. It's your fault," summarized the manager without mercy. "Expelled a good family girl. Now hold the consequences." 6 months later, Maxim saw her by chance in a mall. Zina was radiant, rested skin, easy smile, a dress that fell like sewn just for her. Beside, a man of impeccable suit of those who carry success in the gestures. "Zina," he called, and she turned, recognizing him unsurprisingly. The smile was polite but distant, as a childhood acquaintance was greeted. "Hello, Maxim. How are you?" "Evil," he admitted, the dry throat. "Very bad. Can we talk?" He tried. "I understood my mistakes. My mother also understood." She interrupted him with a gentle gesture, as if avoiding he was hurt more. "I'm not angry with you, Maxim. But what was between us ended. You chose your mother. I chose myself." His companion was waiting for a few steps, patient, with the respect of who knows that he does not need to compete. "Ah," Zina added, as she remembered an unimportant detail, "I transmit to her mother that she was right. I was a little leg with legs. But now I'm a piggy bank who walks alone and decides where he goes." Maxim watched them away, their stomach on fire. There would be no return. Zina had found her life, her place, her happiness as he remained stuck with the choice he had made a year earlier, when he had allowed the pride of others to dictate his destiny. At home, Elmira received him with his face closed. Another bank had denied his loan request. Money was missing even for the pressure remedy, which climbed every day. "I found Zina," Maxim announced, dry. The mother looked up, hopeful. "And? Did you ask for forgiveness?" "No," he replied, looking at the floor. "She's happy. And by the way, getting married again." Elmira sank in the armchair, and for the first time since it all started, wept without hatred, only with the painful clarity of those who finally understand the size of damage. "Maxim," he sobbed, "I thought it was protecting you. I thought she used you." "No, mother," he said, exhausted. "It was you who used me. Used my love for you to destroy my marriage." 3 years passed. Maxim worked in a municipal sports complex, earning 70,000 rubles per month, enough to rent a room on the outskirts. Elmira retired, but was still doing nozzles. The pension did not even give to the medicines. They spoke, he helped her financially, but the intimacy of before had been lost forever. The price of maternal possession was too high. On social networks, Maxim saw photos of Zina, the marriage in Italy, the house in the noble neighborhood of Moscow, the newborn daughter, Sophia, in her arms. She smiled in a way that she had never smiled beside her. Elmira sometimes asked about the subject, not out of curiosity, but for a guilt that has been rushing her for years. She had a girl, said Maxim. Beautiful. It could be my daughter. It could be my granddaughter, the mother muttered, her fingers shaking over the cup of cold tea. Could, agreed his son, looking out the window. If you, at the time, had not behaved like. The phrase was in the air, incomplete. I didn't need to finish it. Both knew. Maxim never married again. Yes, it tried to build new relationships, sometimes even with sincere hope. But the story with Zina had marked him like an ember iron. He taught him to distrust not only others, but of himself. Each gesture of affection, every word of affection, he analyzed with the skepticism of those who have stumbled in the same stone twice. What if I'm wrong again? And if, deep down, I am choosing only what is convenient, only what? Don't you demand courage? The doubt paralyzed him. It was not fear of loving, it was fear of making a mistake in love. Meanwhile, Elmira Sergeyevna was off in her tiny apartment, where the walls seemed to shrink every winter. The neighbors, between pitying eyes and discreet sighs, sometimes left a pasta package or a bag of tea at the door. No one had leftovers to give, but everyone had memories to keep. She, in turn, relived her as those who flip a yellow photos album, the Sundays where Zina arrived with bags full of groceries, the drugs paid without a complaint murmur, the gifts a wool shawl, a cookbook which she accepted with a dry nod, as if they were arms, not gestures of a woman who tried to be family. By affection, I thought at the time. Only now, when his hands trembled as he held a slice of hard bread, Elmira understood, it was not a purchase. It was love. A love she had trampled in the name of a pride that in the end did not warm her for a night. Zina, however, did not hold a grudge. His second marriage was proof that some wounds heal not for oblivion, but by choice. The man by his side, attentive, loyal, saw in it much more than the heiress of a fortune. I saw the woman who woke up at 5 a.m. to close contracts, who laughed high in dinners with friends, who taught her daughter how to ride a bicycle without wheels even before she was 4 years old. When Sonia made 2 years old, Zina sat with her husband to the porch of her Rublivka home, the twilight painting the sky in rose, and told him about Maxim. Not as a victim, not as a betrayed, but as someone who finally understood the weight of his own decisions. Did you never regret it? He asked, passing her fingers through her. No, said Zina, sincere. I gave them a year. An whole year trying to fix what was broken. But when I realized that, for them, I was just the wallet I spoke, the choice became simple. And Maxim? Ah, Maxim. She sighed, looking at her father's sleeping daughter. It hurts, yes. Not for the person he was, but for what it could have been. He is good, just not strong. And life does not forgive the weak. His friends, between wine and laughs, sometimes played, Zina, you were cruel. But they all knew and silent that true cruelty would have been to remain. His stories became almost legendary in his circle, the woman who didn't bow, not even when the price was the family. It is not rotting inside just because rotting has its name on the certificate, she repeated. And the others nodded, because all, at some point, had already felt the bitter taste of being invisible to those who should see them. Elmira died 5 years after her son's divorce. The funeral was simple, paid with money borrowed from co-workers who barely knew her. In the small chapel, among candles that dripped wax over the stone floor, 10 people gathered, former colleagues from the old job on the market, a neighbor who had soup on colder days, a man who had fixed the pipe for years without charging. She was difficult, said one, adjusting the black shawl. But in recent times, he had changed. He was repeating that he had been unfair to Zina. Unjust is little, muttered another. What she did was petty. And now? A heavy silence fell on the group. There was no answer. Some blames are tombs without tombstones. We dug alone and carry the earth on the back to the end. Maxim heard everything, immovable, his hands stuck in the pockets of the shabby coat. He knew his mother had regretted. The nights she called him just to say, among coughs, "Son, I was wrong," were enough proof. But repentance, like a background check, could not be discounted. It did not bring Zina back. Do not erase the years when he chose silence instead of the truth, obedience instead of dignity. That night, after the last guests left and only the smell of wax and withered flowers, Maxim sat at the kitchen table and wrote, "Not for yourself," to her memory, which had left with the weight of a debt that could never be paid. The words came out hard, truncated. "Zina, I ask forgiveness. Not for me, but for her. My mother died with it in her chest, and I don't want him to take it forever." He sent the hopeless envelope, like who throws a bottle into the sea. The answer arrived a month later. A tone paper, firm letter. Maxim. I never kept hatred for you. Not for her. We did what we thought right. Just that. I wish you find peace. Zina. Arrested to paper, a photograph, Sonia, smiling, with the same eyes as her mother. That child could have been his daughter. He could have had his surname, his traits, his stories. Maxim looked long, as if he could, through the image, reach a past that had never existed. Then he kept everything, the letter, the photo, the memories, inside a drawer, alongside the wedding album that had not opened for years. It was a finished story. A story about how a mother's love can become a knife in the wrong hands. About how weakness is not just a defect, but a sentence. And as he closed the drawer with a dry crack, somewhere in Moscow, Zina turned off her daughter's room, kissing her hot forehead, and whispered her husband plans for the next day, a life that, unlike his, still had a future.